Challenge!
17 other states are joining the Texas lawsuit against Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, calling for those states to toss out election results they call tainted. The Texas lawsuit filed by Attorney General Ken Paxton says those battleground states made unconstitutional changes to their laws before the 2020 election. Tuesday, the Supreme Court ordered the defendant states to reply by 3 p.m. Thursday, December 10th. Katie Johnston for CBS 11 News.
Other big story we're following. Yesterday, we told you of the Supreme Court's blunt rejection of one Trump ally's attempt to overturn the election result in one state. Well, now President Trump is asking the court to let him join a lawsuit to overturn the results in 4 states, enough to throw the election to him. Quote, "We will be intervening in the Texas case," the president tweeted, calling the case, quote, "the big one." The suit brought by Texas AG Ken Paxton seeks to invalidate the 62 electoral votes belonging to Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Pennsylvania based on various false claims of unconstitutional handling of absentee ballots. The brief was signed by John Eastman, who is perhaps best known for dubiously arguing that Vice President-elect Kamala Harris might not be a native-born U.S. citizen. Have you heard that before? The court has asked the defendants to respond today. The president asked Senator Ted Cruz of Texas to present oral arguments if it gets that far. A spokesman for the senator confirms he's agreed. To bolster the suit, the attorneys general of 17 states, Trump won, backed the action yesterday, filing an amicus brief with the court. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports that before the brief was filed, the president had a 15-minute phone call with Georgia's attorney general, warning him not to rally Republican officials against the case.
Ken Paxton is the Texas Attorney General who brought this thing, who, as I speak, is being wined and dined at the White House for his troubles. Here's the headline in the Austin American-Statesman tonight. Headline: FBI agents seek Texas Attorney General records in Paxton probe. Quote, federal agents served at least one subpoena yesterday on the office of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton in an ongoing investigation into allegations that Paxton abused his authority by helping a friend and campaign donor. 3 sources confirmed to the American Statesman and KVUE-TV that FBI agents delivered the request for information to the agency's headquarters on West 14th Street. Again, the subpoena served yesterday on Paxton's office. Quote, the issuance of a federal subpoena on a state agency, and especially involving the state's top attorney, is a highly unusual move that likely would have required higher level approval from the U.S. Department of Justice. Quote, it came as Paxton has received national attention this week after filing a lawsuit to overturn presidential election results in 4 battleground states won by President-elect Joe Biden. The visit from federal agents came one day before Paxton was among a dozen state attorneys general to go to the White House to meet in person with President Donald Trump. So the guy leading this effort, the state attorney general in Texas, is himself apparently under FBI investigation for serious charges levied against him by people in his own office that he has corruptly used the power of his office to aid his campaign donors. He's also under indictment on state charges in a totally unrelated matter, but the FBI is now investigating him in what appears to be a federal criminal probe. The FBI served subpoenas on his office in Austin yesterday, and that is the kind of thing that takes high-level Justice Department approval, the kind of thing for which a guy like Ken Paxton might want a little high-level federal relief. Perhaps a pardon? Did I mention he was at the White House tonight? Because of this big Supreme Court case he's bringing to try to overthrow the election and install Donald Trump for a second term?
Back to one of our top stories right now. 4 battleground states have now responded to a lawsuit filed by Texas trying to overturn their election results. So what should we expect from the U.S. Supreme Court? I want to bring in Fox News contributor George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley. Nice to see you, Professor. Good day to you. I have seen some clips. They call it bogus claims on behalf of Texas. They say this is chance of this happening could be 1 in a quadrillion. What do you think the U.S. Supreme Court does now that this has been responded to?
Well, it's highly unlikely to be successful. The problem is that Texas is carrying more baggage on this one than Amtrak. I mean, you've got a lot of problems that the court is going to be concerned about. First, many of the courts previously have rejected these challenges under what's called latches, or the timing. They've said, why are you raising this now? Why didn't you come to court before the election? We're just before the Electoral College votes. You want us to negate the certification of a past election. We don't understand why you waited. Second, the Supreme Court defers to state courts and state Supreme Courts on their own laws, and they have rejected these claims, and they don't look kindly on one state trying to effectively enforce the laws of another state. But the biggest problem is that sticker shock problem, the relief. They're asking to effectively negate the certification, and with it, the results of the election in the view of many. The justices are probably not inclined to do that. So we saw with the Pennsylvania case, it was rejected 40 minutes after the last brief was filed without any dissent. In order for this to prevail, you need not 4, but 5 justices. Now, assuming that Chief Justice Roberts is not going to want anything to do with this, then you've got to get all 5 conservatives to sign on.
FBI agents have issued at least 1 federal subpoena for records from the Texas Attorney General's office in an ongoing investigation into allegations against Attorney General Ken Paxton here in the state of Texas. Sources confirmed to senior reporter Tony Plahetsky that the requests for information were issued Wednesday at the agency's headquarters on West 14th Street. Tony joins us now live from our newsroom with more. Tony.
And Brian, it is unclear how many of those subpoenas were issued or what information those federal agents are looking for. The investigation started after top Paxton aides alleged to the FBI in early October that they believe Paxton may be committing crimes that include abuse of office and bribery in his dealings with Austin investor Nate Paul. The group claimed that Paxton took a number of steps to benefit Paul. Paul's offices were raided by the FBI last year. Those steps included hiring an outside investigator to investigate Paul's assertion that the FBI violated his constitutional rights during the raid. Paxton denies any wrongdoing. In recent weeks, FBI agents have been questioning people who may have information about Paxton's relationship with Paul, but the FBI, we should point out, has not publicly confirmed any investigation. Today, a spokeswoman for the FBI said she could not comment, and a spokesman for the Attorney General's office did not return our calls. Earlier today, Paxton was in Washington, D.C. He joined about a dozen other AGs from across the nation in a meeting with President Trump on a variety of topics. Brian?
That's Tony Plahetsky with the very latest from our newsroom. Tony, thank you very much for that report tonight.
There's breaking news tonight from the Supreme Court. In a 7-2 ruling, the justices refused to hear a lawsuit filed by the Texas Attorney General trying to throw out millions of ballots in 4 states, all but now ending the president's attempt to reverse his election loss. CBS's Ben Tracy joins us now from the White House with this breaking news. Good evening, Ben.
Nora, in this decision, the Supreme Court says that Texas does not have standing to question how other states conduct their elections. And for President Trump, who had hoped that the Supreme Court would ultimately decide the election in his favor, this is a big blow. Tonight, the Supreme Court declined to hear one of the last legal challenges to the 2020 election, saying Texas did not have standing to bring the suit. At a White House holiday party this week, President Trump had high hopes for what he called the big case.
We have tremendous cases right now, a big case.
The lawsuit was filed by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and joined by 17 other states, asking the court to invalidate votes from 4 key battleground states. But federal judges across the country have repeatedly tossed out the Trump campaign's claims due to a lack of evidence, and it lost yet another lawsuit in Wisconsin today. But tensions remain high as the Electoral College meets Monday to solidify Joe Biden's victory. Michigan's 16 electors will be offered police escorts. Elector Bobby Walton.
I wasn't looking forward to the walk from the garage to the building, but I would have done it. And I would have kept my head down and just kept walking forward. But this way I don't have to do it all alone.
President Trump is lashing out at the Supreme Court after it rejected his latest effort to overturn the results of last month's presidential election. In a tweet posted just before midnight, Mr. Trump accused the justices of, quote, letting us down, showing no wisdom and no courage. This after the court's 7-2 ruling rejected a push from Texas to block electors in 4 battleground states from voting in the Electoral College. But the president and his personal attorneys say they are not done yet. Chip Reed is at the White House this morning with more. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning. Dana, you mentioned that the president sent out a tweet before midnight. He also sent another one after midnight in which he said, a rigged election, fight on. But now that he's lost before the U.S. Supreme Court, it's hard to imagine where he can go to continue the fight.
The court's 7-2 decision, for all intents and purposes, ends the president's 5-week effort to legally challenge President-elect Biden's victory. In rejecting the lawsuit, the court wrote, Texas has not demonstrated a judicially cognizable interest in the manner in which another state conducts its elections. The lawsuit, filed by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, asked the court to invalidate the votes from 4 key battleground states, but judges across the country have repeatedly tossed out those claims due to a lack of evidence. Over 100 House Republicans filed a brief in support of Paxton's suit, claiming the election was riddled with allegations of fraud and irregularities. President Trump had been counting on a Supreme Court victory. 3 of the justices who rejected the case were appointed by him. Earlier in the week, the president struck an optimistic tone at a White House Hanukkah party.
I understand a lot of congressmen and women are joining, a lot of people are joining, because they can't allow this to happen. You can't have a country where somebody loses an election and becomes president.
Texas AG Paxton released a statement calling the court's decision unfortunate, asserting he will continue to tirelessly defend the integrity and security of our elections and hold accountable those who shirk established election law for their own convenience. And on Fox News last night, the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, said the Supreme Court's decision was wrong.
This is going to live in our history, and the Supreme Court has made a terrible, terrible mistake in not getting this resolved in a fair, in a decent, and in an equitable way, because it's going to leave a real black mark with regard to this election throughout our entire history.
Legal experts say the president has simply reached the end of the road, legally speaking. Monday, the electors meet to certify the election.